Thanks for tuning in to Hobbs and Horror Movie Review Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Hobbs and Horror. I'm Eric.
I'm Gary Bussey.
I'm Mary Moosey.
And we're back with another episode. A very not horror episode today. We're talking about the movie Quigley. Gary Bussey, as Jason likes to call him.
It's your uncle that said it. And I almost laughed out loud when he said Bussey.
And Gary Bussey dies and turns into a dog.
Yeah.
It's called Quigley, if I don't remember if I said that.
I don't think you did.
And it's rocking our highest IMDb rating to date, a 2.9.
Yeah, you really got to sink low to get a 2.9.
It does take some effort.
Yeah.
I believe I have gone out and tried to find movies that low and not been able to find them on IMDb.
I wonder if, like, some of the more famous, really bad movies, the first one that comes to mind is, like, Battlefield Earth.
Yeah, no, like, IMDb has a bottom 250 list.
Yeah, I wonder if...
You can look at the 250 lowest rated movies
I wonder.
Quigley got better than Battlefield Earth. Battlefield Earth got 2.5. Quigley got 2.9.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I wonder if Quigley would make that list of 250. The bottom
it might.
250.
It might. There's some really bad movies out there.
Yeah, there is.
So, Gavin, take us through the plot of this movie.
All right. So we start out, there's a guy named Archie, and he apparently owns a video game company. At first, I thought he was an archaeologist because there's weird Egyptian stuff in his room for reasons I don't understand. But apparently, he runs a video game company, and he's a really big jerk, and he lays people off, and he hates dogs and whatever. And almost immediately in the movie, he gets in a car accident and dies, and he goes to heaven, but he's not allowed into heaven until he goes on a journey to redeem himself, but to do it, he has to come back as a dog named Quigley.
Because he hates dogs.
Because he hates dogs. He comes back as Quigley the dog. He has a guardian angel played by Oz Perkins, who I don't really know what his purpose is, because he comes back, but he's not actually allowed to help him, so he just kind of shows up sometimes.
Yeah.
So then we follow the adventures of this dog as he tries to put right what once went wrong.
Yeah. And so how I discovered this movie was I first came across Gary Busey, Pet Judge. And I will say to anybody out there, I would start with Pet Judge just to get your get pumped about Gary Busey. And then move to Quigley, because Pet Judge really gives you an appreciation for him. I will say I've never watched this movie sober until today. I think I've watched it twice now, and both times I was pretty hammered. And I would recommend that for this movie. I think it was very enjoyable watching it with you guys, but I don't think I'd watch this movie alone without some kind of substance in me. This is a movie I think that's better enjoyed with other people. Mm-hmm. And probably some beer or smoke some weed or something when you watch this movie, because it will enhance some of the subtle humor in it.
Yeah.
It's very subtle humor, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So does it?
I agree.
I think what Jason just said there is about all the good we can say about this movie. No, there's more good to say. Okay.
No, but I agree completely about the watching it with the group. Although, like, I'm going to go out and say it right off the bat here. Like, I enjoyed this movie, and I hate that I did, but I did.
I did too.
But yeah, if I was watching it by myself, I think it would grow boring pretty quick, and it wouldn't really hold my attention very well. I could see this playing to a full theater.
Yeah.
And people laughing their asses off.
Yeah.
Because the target audience for this movie, I don't think are the people who would really appreciate this movie.
Right. Well, it's G. It's rated G.
It's clearly a family / kids movie.
Yeah.
Which we are not.
Right.
We are not that audience. But I think it kind of works better being the cynical audience where you're like, what the hell?
Yeah. Gavin, what are your thoughts on this? I feel like there was somebody involved in this movie who kind of knew what they were doing a little bit to make this funny to people like you and I a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get that at all? Some of the weird shit that happened with Gary Busey and stuff, the things that they let him say.
I don't know.
I think that's just Gary Busey. Man.
Well, like my favorite line in the movie, windshield wipers. He's listing off all these things and he's like, what do they all have in common? And Gary Busey's like, I don't know. And he's like,
it's a trick question.
It's a trick question, yeah. And he's like, they were all invented by women. And he's like, I don't believe that. But it's just like the way it's delivered and everything is just great.
Yeah. I don't know. Like it's a question I actually thought about while we were watching it. And I don't think it was intentional.
Really?
I think it happened.
Really?
Because I feel like if you tried to make it intentional, you couldn't do it.
Okay.
I feel like the movie is funny in an ironic way.
Yeah.
Because they tried to make a real family movie, and something somewhere is off.
So you don't think there was a mole in there somewhere that like just kind of allowed certain things to happen to make it a little more funny to people?
It's possible. I don't know.
Yeah.
How do you do that on purpose? How do you really get that going? Like,
I suppose.
See, and I would just go with, I think that what you guys got out of value from this movie is what Gary Busey is going to bring to this movie.
Oh,
it wasn't anything. It wasn't intentional by any means.
Well,
it was just by casting Gary Busey.
There's certain things though, like so one of the things that I love about this movie is there's scenes like Gary Busey as a dog, jumping up and just licking the shit out of a little girl's face. Just licking her face, her neck, everything. And I'm thinking to myself the whole time, that's fucking Gary Busey.
Yeah.
And were the filmmakers not aware of the creep factor of that? You know, like it's hard for me to believe that they didn't kind of know what they were doing, but also wanted to play it innocent.
Have you ever watched Ladybugs as an adult?
I don't know what that is.
It's this movie where Ronnie Dangerfield teaches a bunch of women. Well, Jonathan Brandis dresses up as a girl to make the soccer team better, and then Ronnie Dangerfield is the coach.
Okay.
And there is just, you watch that movie, watch it.
Yeah.
You watch it, the things it's Ronnie Dangerfield at his not his dirtiest, but it is clearly Ronnie Dangerfield humor, where it's like, I can't believe they just put this in a kid's movie.
Right. And it's probably from the 80s, so...
Yeah, totally.
But if by casting him, they obviously knew what they were doing.
Yeah,
like,
but
that's what they wanted. I put Gary Busey in this as like, it's like the make it or break it. Most of the stuff that I thought was great, ironically great, like not really great,
right?
Is just because of him being there. Mm-hmm. But there are other things. Where the girl's lost. And
Which, how did it happen?
I don't know.
How did she get lost? Like, she's sitting at home one minute and suddenly she ends up in the fucking woods crying by a tree.
It did show her walking out the house with the dog. I remember seeing, because she had a stuffed dog with her.
Yeah.
She walked away with the stuffed dog, and then pretty soon she was missing.
So nowhere in there do we actually see anybody like trekking through the woods.
No, just helicopters.
Right.
And fucking...
Instead, you get a montage where she looks there, she's sad, she's looking back and forth. She could be standing, like, in her backyard for all we know. Like, it's not really, like, obviously it's in the woods. Yeah, the cop cars are out patrolling, the helicopters are out. And, like, maybe as a kid, like, this flies, you're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
The moment you think about it, you're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, I mean, how far did she get that they need helicopters? You know, like I would think you'd just go for a walk and yell her name and you'd probably find her.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, she was probably missing for like 20 minutes.
yeah, and the dog finds her before the helicopters and police.
Yeah. Again, was that intentional? I don't know.
But it was brilliant.
But
at the same time.
but it's funny to me because of just how incredibly stupid it is.
Yeah.
And honestly, I will say this movie, for the most part, was bad all the way through.
Yeah.
But it really does come together and become that heartwarming family movie at the end.
Yeah.
You know, would you agree? Like they really closed it off strong.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't like Clifford where it's like there's nothing redeeming.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
like, wait, what?
No.
Which is the only non-horror movie I think we've done on here. So
and
far.
that was there was a lot more horror aspect to it than in that movie than this one.
Yeah, you could call Clifford a horror movie if you really stretched the definition.
You could definitely do a cut.
Yeah,
of like a trailer, and just put some ominous music in it, and it would be perfect.
But this one, it'd be very hard to make that case.
And if anyone's curious, we did a podcast about the movie Clifford with Martin Short. It was one of our earlier episodes. If you want to check it out, that's one of the other non-horror movies that we've reviewed for this podcast.
Yeah, they should have heard it by now. But if they're just jumping in, now, well, shame on you, and go back and check out Clifford. But so this, I'm not convinced that Archie, the character, was that bad.
Yeah.
Like, yes, okay, you fired a bunch of employees, and you hate dogs.
Yeah.
I guess by like G-rated kid movie standards, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
That's all we get. Like, we don't see like a pattern of this guy being a dick.
Yeah.
And then as soon as he's a dog, like, he's not even a bad guy. Like, he's not like a bad dog that has to become a good dog. He's like pretty nice right away.
Well, as soon as they turn him into dog, he's licking people and doing shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, wait a minute, how does that fly?
Yeah, and like this is obviously, one of like the million movies that kind of like rips off A Christmas Carol.
Mm-hmm.
And even there, the original story or movie, whatever, Scrooge is obviously a dick.
Yeah.
Like, there's no doubt that, like, it's not like Scrooge is having a bad day.
Yeah.
It's like, this guy is just a pain in the ass to be around.
Right.
So I don't feel like they got it up to that level where I'm like, this guy's not redeemable.
That's because they didn't have any development.
Yeah.
Because all they did was, like, he literally dies within the first 2 minutes.
I mean,
they show him being a dick a little bit for 1 or 2 scenes to like talking about firing people, and then he's dead, and he's he's outside the gates of heaven or whatever.
Yeah.
And by the way, I don't want to like jump completely to something else. I don't want to forget this. The German janitor.
yes,
please.
totally.
Yeah, we got to talk about the German janitor.
Was he German, though? Because at times he might have been German. At other times, he might have been Russian. And at some times, he might have even been French.
Yeah. Gavin said he thought he heard him slip into a French accent.
Yes.
I would say most of the time it was German, though. Yeah.
What I really love about that is it's such a trope for German.
The German janitor?
Not necessarily a janitor. They're always like in these kids movies and stuff. They always have to have a German character that kind of is an idiot, or apparently German people are okay to make fun of. It's okay to make them like kind of the bumbling idiot.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's because of the Nazis. I don't know.
I don't know
if it just gives us all a free pass. Like we're the one group of people we can shit on, because we can't do it with the Chinese anymore.
Yeah,
you can't do it. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know why he had to be German, and I don't know why it was the janitor's job to hunt down the dog.
Why it was anybody that they had hunting down the dog's job.
Yeah, it's weird.
Mm-hmm. There's a surprising number of people I recognized in this movie.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of I wouldn't say big stars, but recognizable faces, definitely.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
I'm curious. Do you guys think was this script written with the intention of having Gary Busey as the dog?
I don't know. I mean, I think it'd be a completely different movie if it didn't have Gary Busey in it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like I think that there's nothing left of this movie other than if you're looking for a movie that has a cute dog running around everywhere.
Yeah. Which, by the way, they really did a lot of that.
Yes.
I mean, this movie, I would say, if we could figure out how much time was spent of just the dog running from room to room or down the sidewalk, it'd be half the movie.
Yeah.
Or more.
Right. And I think But I think from like our perspective, the only thing that made this movie good was the fact that they stuck Gary Busey in there.
Yeah, but I did like those scenes because of the music that they played over the top of them while the dog was running around.
Oh my God, we almost forgot to mention the killer soundtrack.
Yes.
This movie has a killer soundtrack.
It definitely does.
It does.
Uh-huh.
It does.
I won't even talk about the music beyond that. You just have to watch the movie to hear how good it is.
It does have some very noticeable music in a range of styles. Yeah. I don't know if it was written with him in mind. I don't want to say that it was. Like, I feel like that's probably not what happened.
I feel like it probably wasn't either, but then I also feel like nobody else could have done this role.
No.
You know, like, no matter who, I can't think of another person that could conceivably have done. I mean, we would all be talking like we would all be under a 1 on this movie in rating
Absolutely.
if it wasn't for Gary Busey.
Yeah, but maybe that's not that's not unusual because I don't know, like, I don't know if you know, Eric. Jason probably knows because he watches garbage. But there's entire, like, careers built out of people making these absolutely harmless, pointless, quote-unquote Christian movies. This one ends up being funny because of the way it's been cast. But if it would have just been cast normally without anybody weird in the role, that's the kind of crap they do actually release.
Right,
Yeah.
and I could see them still making
I don't
the
know
movie.
who watches these things, but like they exist.
And is this a Christian movie? I've been trying to figure that out since you mentioned it.
It's supposed to. It's not overly so.
Like, is whoever produced this movie, does it come from a production company that makes Christian movies?
I didn't look that far into
Okay.
it. I know that's what it was described as, but there was only one moment that was really, like, to me, that was really explicitly Christian, and that's like when he's coming back from heaven and he turns, oh, hey, guess what? You're not dead. And they like give him like the sermon. They're like, just remember to get into heaven. It's not about the good you do. It's about the faith you have.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, there it is. Because I'm like, we didn't get it the rest of the time.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious, because it seems like, Gavin, you have experience with these Christian type movies.
A little bit, like not on purpose. But I know that there's there's this thing called like Dove Approved. And like if you see Dove Approved on it, it's going to be the worst movie you see. Because it means there's like zero profanity, zero like anything. Like, which I get some people want that because they want their kids to whatever. But it also removes like any point to watch a movie. Like they're boring as all.
Well, yeah, because part of any story is conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you can't have conflict.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that conflict necessarily has to bump the rating to something more mature. How do you have conflict that's
G-rated?
G-rated?
Yeah,
what would the conflict be?
Yeah, but you don't need like sex and violence necessarily. I don't know if I was complaining, but I pointed out while we were watching, like, the dad comes home from work. How was your day?
Yeah.
Oh, I almost got hit by a truck. Well, I'm glad you didn't. Like, everybody was so happy and positive.
Yes.
There was none of that moment like in real life where like, why the hell were you playing in the road? You
Yeah,
know?
or where's my dinner, you stupid bitch?
Yeah. Like I mean, maybe there's families out there where like everything they say to each other is like absolutely uplifting.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel real at all.
No, and that's part of, honestly, I love that. And I don't think I would love it if Gary Busey wouldn't have been also there.
Yeah.
The fact that they had Gary Busey and then there's also these moments that are surreal. This isn't a real family. You can tell. It enhanced it for me.
And I felt like when Gary Busey's up in heaven at the gate of heaven and talking to the people, that was really sort of dark, kind of like trying to scare you into like, if you're not a good human, these bad things. Now, is that something that would be in that kind of movie?
They wouldn't even talk.
I mean, could be, sure.
They wouldn't even say what would happen to him if he didn't do what. Like, they just kind of were like,
Yeah.
you know, like.
Yeah, they never even said you're gonna go to the other place.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they didn't ever actually
No.
say it at all.
Which makes it a little more scary in a sense.
Yeah.
Because it's like the unknown. Like, what is going to happen to this guy?
Yeah.
And when he went
That's
up
how
there,
clean the movie is.
Yeah.
You can't even mention that
Yeah,
there's like
that's
the devil or something.
Yeah.
and when he was up there at the end talking to them, like after he had done all the things to help his brother and whatever, it was like the guy's like, there are no second chances and stuff, and I'm like,
Wait
this
a minute.
is a little creepy, man. Like we shouldn't, know.
And also, isn't it kind of contradictory to the entire movie, because he had his life, he was bad, and they turn him into a dog to give him a second chance. And then now all of a sudden they're saying no second chances.
Yeah. I thought it was weird. Cause he did his thing. He completed some missions.
Yeah.
And then they're like, yeah, you didn't do good enough. And then he's like, what?
They're like, no second chance. But then they
And it's like,
then they
it's
let
like,
him
dude,
live.
like, you're like God, dude. Like,
You can do whatever you want.
I think if you want to give a guy a second chance, like, you can kind of do that.
Yeah. Great. I really like the scene when Quigley puts the CD-ROM into the CD player.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
like you see the little
and then he's
paw.
sitting there playing the computer
Yeah,
game.
he's using the mouse and
Yeah.
everything, and I was like, holy shit.
Yes, the dog that plays video games and reads the stock report.
Yes.
I just can't imagine what it was like to film this thing, man. Oh my god, the hours that somebody must have sat there to try and get the dog to do all the crap they had.
I don't think the dog basically, from what maybe there was something more complicated they had him do that I didn't notice, but for the most part, it was just the dog showing up.
Yeah, mostly.
Well, there was the one scene where I don't remember what was happening, but the dog is like, yes, nodding his head yes, and nodding.
But you know what you
How
can
long-
do?
It's not
I guess,
hard.
No.
I guess if you held
a treat up.
off of camera,
Yeah.
and then
You go like this in front of it,
Yeah, that's true.
and it's going to look up, it's going to look
You look
down,
down,
and then you
yeah.
go side to side. It'd be easy.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's go into ratings on this
Yeah.
thing, because
I
I don't know how much more
really-
we can really talk about it. So I'm gonna start this one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make Gavin start on this one because I'm most curious what Gavin's
I am too.
rating is
Well,
gonna be.
Can I throw one more thing out before
Yeah.
the rating?
Yes, you can.
Okay. While we were watching it, I'm kind of doing my quick little background check, and I'm like, who made this movie? Director's nobody. The writer's nobody. Nobody's nobody. Like, some of the actors, like you said, they're familiar.
Mhm.
You know who they are. Like, you've seen their faces. The one person who came up who actually had or has a career was the cinematographer, the cameraman. And that's Gary Graver. And he worked with Toby Hooper for a while. He made Toolbox Murders, Mortuary, Death Sport,
See, we found
Dracula versus Frankenstein, Twisted Nightmare, Satan, Sadist, Sorceress, Trick or Treats. I mean, his list is horror and just garbage movies.
Yeah.
So he's the horror connection here.
yes.
Nice.
That's why this. If you're wondering why this movie is on this podcast, that's
Yeah.
why.
So
I knew it the whole time.
So I don't know who anybody else who did anything with this movie was. They're all just random people. But they hired the camera guy who had a whole history of making sex and murder movies. So
That's awesome.
okay, so my rating, if the movie had lasted maybe a half an hour, I would have given it a really high rating. Because for the first half hour, I was laughing pretty good. I thought the movie was hilarious. But I don't know that the novelty of it carried for the whole movie for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it straight down the middle, and I'm going to give it a 5.
That's fair.
That's
Yeah.
fair. I think it's a little high, but it's
It's
fair.
probably a little high, but I don't want to go any lower just because I legitimately enjoyed it. I'm not proud of it, but I actually enjoyed the movie. I would watch it again.
Yeah. And Gavin, I would agree with you. It's not consistent all the way through. There's plenty of time. It'll be real funny for a while, and then it's just I'm kind of checking out.
Yeah.
And then there'll be a scene with Gary Busey barking or doing some weird dog shit, and then I'm back in it again.
Yeah.
And yeah, those moments where it kind of lags and they just kind of fill it in with the dog running down the street or whatever. As much as I love those scenes,
Yeah, an hour and a half.
An hour and a half.
This is a little too much.
yeah.
No.
Quigley was only cute for so long.
Yeah.
So
Right.
All right, so you give it.
I don't want to ruin my reputation here. I don't want to like start just like rating terrible movies really, really high.
You don't want to start doing
Well,
that?
well, I mean,
remember, the janitor got like a 12. So
I don't want to hurt my credibility too much, so I'm going to try to be real conservative about this, and I'm going to give it an 8.
Was not expecting that.
Wow.
Yeah, and honestly, I have no way to defend that. I don't. I have no way to defend it. All I know is that this was one of those movies that when I watched it and I was hammered, I just laughed my fucking ass off, and just like, it's such a beautiful waste of time. This is what I mean. Like one of our first like podcasts, I think I said like, I feel like part of my charm is wasting my time.
Yeah.
For watching these movies. Like, and this is like a beautiful waste of fucking time. Like it's so fucking stupid. And at the same time,
you can still sit in a room and talk about it for 28 minutes.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm going to tell you, most of the time on this podcast, Jason, you and I are similar.
yeah.
And even when we're not, like, I understand, like, I get where you're coming from, but I have to tell you, I don't get it. This one, I can't.
So
I cannot for the life of me see this getting.
You know what it is? You know what it is? It's similar to your Head of the Family.
Okay.
Because I think you gave Head of the Family like it's like an 8 or close to it.
I wouldn't be surprised if I gave it an 8, and it's a god awful movie.
Yeah, and it does not deserve an 8
Yeah.
by any standard.
No, it doesn't. But it's one of those you saw it at the right time in the right
Yeah,
place.
and that for me, that's kind of what this was. Like I discovered this movie on my own out of all the shit that's out there on Tubi and whatever. I just happened across it. I saw Gary Busey was in it. I think I watched like a short little preview of the fucking dog, and I was like, I'm in. and I watched it. I was fucked up a little bit, and man, was it a good time. Fucking even my girlfriend was laughing her ass off. She fucking loves this movie, and it's like, it makes no sense. Not like I'm gonna go out of my way to rent Air Bud. You know, like those movies. Like,
so next week's movie is Airbud?
No, Hell, it's up to you, man.
well, we're doing pairs. We've been doing pairs. So
well, he's got one in the canon there. Yeah. So
Okay. I still don't get the 8, but I appreciate your explanation.
yeah.
So I'm gonna go with. So this is what I'll say about this movie is. I think it was Jason that said it. You zoned out on this movie.
Yep.
And the first like half hour was pretty humorous because just the concept of what was happening was really funny. But yeah, it died down at the end. The one thing I will add is that if you're a lover of a happy, charming ending, this really came together and gave you that charming
I know you were
ending.
crying for a little while.
Yes, I was, like a little girl.
Yeah.
It was really, really good for that. But I cannot even, like, an 8. That's just ridiculous. That makes it sound like it's worth watching. And I mean, it's probably worth putting on for 25 minutes, get your laughs in, and then you can probably just cut it off because it's not going to offer much. But I do think, being that this movie has the lowest IMDb rating of all the movies we watch, I am ashamed of IMDb for that. Because we have watched some shitty fucking movies on this podcast. And while this movie is not good, it is not down in that bottom of the barrel area. I'm going to raise it up. I'm going to give it a 3.
It's better than Headless.
Yeah, it's better than Headless. It's better than Head of the Family or whatever the hell that name of that movie is.
Yeah, you got it right that time.
And
you
something
did.
we didn't. Yeah, that was like the first time ever.
He said...
head of the household.
Yeah, he only thinks in financial terms. He's thinking about his fucking taxes.
But I'm gonna give this a 3.25, and I think it's shameful of IMDb that the rating on this movie is as low as it is.
Man, I love you.
I think a 3.25 is a fair rating. I think that's very fair.
I think so too. And honestly, like, I wouldn't don't take my fucking rating in seriously at all, because it's bullshit. My rating is total bullshit. But I had to. It just, it's one of those movies, like, I found it and it's like, it's mine. It's
you know
my
what,
baby.
though? I give you props. I actually give you both props for this.
Okay.
I like the fact that you guys can watch a movie and it can be cheesy and it can be just fucking bad.
Yeah.
And you guys take something from it.
Yeah.
And I lack that. I just, when I sit down and watch all these movies,
Yep.
like, it's so hard for me to get over how bad they are to appreciate much of anything from any of them.
Yeah.
I think I'm improving in that
I
field.
think you are.
but-
I honestly think you are. And I think this movie is proof of that.
Yeah.
Because I think
I would have blasted it when
if this was the first movie we reviewed, I really feel you would have given it like a 1.2. You would have been like, fucking IMDb is giving this a 2.9. This doesn't deserve a 2.9.
Which does not make any sense of why I gave The Janitor such a high rating.
Yeah.
But the only thing I can come to with that is because my bar was probably set so fucking low when
Yeah.
we watched that movie
Yeah.
that I was like, oh, this was actually not, I mean, it was not good, but
Yeah.
it was not terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have anything else to say about this?
No.
No, all I'll say is, if you're thinking about watching this, a great companion to this is Gary Busey, Pet Judge.
Okay, so now.
And I would have
You
picked...
you set me up perfectly for
Yeah.
this because I want to know. I want a very brief rating on what do you think of Pet Judge?
Oh, Pet Judge, easily a 10.
Really?
Easily a 10. Not even... I don't even have to think about that.
Maybe I have to watch this because
And for anybody who's listening is like, what the fuck is Gary Busey, Pet Judge?
it's People's Court, but with pets, and Gary Busey is the judge.
Exactly. And I mean, he's just like, they just let him loose. He just sits up there in his little judge thing up on his stand and let him do, like, say whatever the fuck he wants. You can tell he's just losing his goddamn mind. But it is such a brilliant show. I
And
can't say enough good things about it.
you know what I also find interesting with this movie? This movie was made in, what did you say, 2003, I
Yep.
think?
2003, yeah.
So now, this movie has what we know Gary Busey as today written all over it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did people know Gary Busey as that in 2003?
I don't think so.
You know, that eccentric, weird...
because
I think they did, but maybe not to the extent we do now.
yeah.
And I almost wonder if this movie is better now because we all know, we all expect
Mhm.
that from Gary Busey, where maybe a lot of people, when he first did this movie,
Mm-hmm.
were just thrown off. First of all, they were probably like, Gary Busey, action character
Yeah.
type person playing in this movie. What are they doing?
I mean-
And then to see Gary Busey the way he is.
Yeah, but he's always been weird. Like, if you watch Silver Bullet, which is mid 80s, he's not as crazy as he is later, but you can tell he's off. There's something
Mhm.
not right with him. And we will not be watching Silver Bullet. And the reason we will not be watching Silver Bullet is not because it's a bad movie, because it's actually a good movie. The reason is because it stars Corey Haim, and I'm not going to let Jason talk about Corey Haim.
That's fair. That's fair.
All right. I'm overriding Gavin totally on
Okay.
this rule right now. If I will say MilwaukeeMafia@gmail.com, if Gavin gets one email in the next 30 days requesting more Gary Busey, we will do 5 Gary Busey movies in a row.
Whoa!
One email. That's all it takes.
Whoa!
MilwaukeeMafia@gmail.com.
Wow. So okay, Silver Bullet's coming.
Yeah. So so that means you'd be watching Ginger Dead Man 1, Ginger Dead Man 2, Ginger Dead Man 3.
Well, no, there's better choices than
Yeah,
that. There's
yeah.
better choices than that. But that does lead into our pick for next time.
Uh-huh.
Owen, what is our pick for next time?
Well, so I narrowed it down to 2, and now I've narrowed it down to 1. The choice was between Quigley Down Under and another one. And I threw Quigley Down Under out
Darn it!
And the reason I threw it out has nothing to do with the movie itself. I actually think it's an okay movie. The reason I threw it out is because it's 2 hours long, and I don't feel like that.
Yeah.
That's just too much.
Yeah.
We're going with the other one, which is Ginger Dead Man.
Nice.
And Ginger Dead Man, first of all, it's terrible.
Yes.
It's terrible. The last time I saw it, I rated it a 2. I hate it. I hate that movie. I'm picking it because it stars Gary Busey, who dies and is reincarnated as a gingerbread man.
Look at, I made this big movement to get another Gary Busey movie, and we're already doing another Gary Busey movie.
Right, but because I like when we do things in pairs. If you're going to have one movie where he dies and comes back as a dog, you got to have a movie where he dies and comes back as a gingerbread man.
You know what would be
This
great?
is brilliant.
They should just come up with a whole series of films where he just dies and comes back as
something.
a fucking carrot, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's Gary Busey, man.
And it's not...
He can do anything.
It would
it's
probably
not
work,
good.
too.
It's not good, but I probably haven't seen it in 15 years. Maybe it's aged really well.
It may be. I remember when I watched that movie, I thought it was a really low effort.
It is a very low effort.
Yeah. I mean, and I think I went into it, though, with higher expectations due to the fact that most of the Full Moon Entertainment movies that I watched growing up were better than that.
No.
Like when they were with Empire.
Up to that point.
The Empire ones or whatever.
Right. Ginger Dead Man really is kind of the turning point where they went to hell.
Oh, no. We have to watch another full movie. Moon Entertainment movie?
Yeah, that is.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I'm starting to want to veto this idea.
No. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
On the bright side, it is 70 minutes, so it should be quick.
And I promise you, Eric, the next one that I pick will be better.
It will, as long as it's not a Full Moon Entertainment movie.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, this you guys mentioning that word makes me nauseous.
I would not even do it except for the fact that it pairs with this other one.
Yeah.
Well, see, and this is what's really terrifying to me is because it's full moon. And you're saying it's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
I mean,
so really makes...
You gave head of the whatever.
Yeah.
He still can't remember the fucking name.
I was going to say the wrong one, and I couldn't think of what the right one was, so I just said...
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
This podcast should have a lot more listeners because this damn thing is pretty entertaining, I think.
Well, yeah. I mean, at this point, we should be wrapping up, but I will throw out one more thing, and it's just that when Jason and I were talking the other day, we came to the realization that we've made it this far. I don't know how many episodes we have, but a good chunk. And we haven't done a single trauma movie yet.
No, we haven't.
That's true.
And that is definitely something we should do.
Yeah, I mean, it's bound to happen, but it hasn't happened yet.
I've always wanted to see Pterodactyl Woman.
No, you don't.
No, you really don't. Yep. I've seen it, and it. I mean, if you want to see like a lady up in a tree just acting like a bird and like eating stuff, I think she's got a nest up in the tree.
No Pterodactyl Woman of Beverly Hills. No Teenage Cat Girls in Heat.
No,
not acceptable.
No, but there's some good ones that, like, I don't know if you've seen, Gavin, like Combat Shock or like.
I think I saw Combat Shock, but my trauma days were a long time ago, so I don't remember a lot of them very well.
Well, we could do some digging and maybe find
I've seen one, but I can't remember what it was.
Toxic Avenger, man.
Okay, I see Toxic Avenger, but I seen a non-toxic
Probably
Avenger.
Sergeant Kabuki, man. Or...
No.
Oh, you watched, the fuck is it?
Terra Firma?
Terra Firma,
Terra Firma, that's probably it. Yeah.
Which was also the first DVD I ever bought.
Nice.
Yeah.
That kind of ages that movie a little bit, but...
I know, it does.
I'm curious how that one holds up, because I loved Terra Firma.
Me too.
But I'm afraid that some of the humor... Me watching it now, I'm going to be like, ooh.
Oh, I'm sure it's offensive as hell.
All right. Guess what? I'm announcing it now.
Yeah.
I haven't chosen a movie in a while, so I'm choosing Terra Firma.
It doesn't have Gary Busey in it.
No, but after that, we're done with our pairs. So
okay.
So now you're going to have to pick a trauma movie.
Okay,
for the next movie
I can do that
too.
I'll
we'll do a trauma pair.
I'm going to try to find one that's less well known.
That's fine.
I'm going to do some digging because I know there's probably at least one or two gems within the Troma catalog that I haven't seen yet, I'm sure, or that we haven't really, or that haven't been played out to death.
Or that just aren't
Shakespeare
aren't what everybody knows when they hear.
I would pick that if they'd ever release it.
Poultrygeist?
I wasn't that big of a fan of that one. I liked it. I think because it was like a musical.
Yeah.
I'm not big on the musicals.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So I can't stand musicals. And then
I mean, I don't know if technically it was a musical, but it had musical numbers throughout the movie.
If I had to pick a Troma movie, I'd pick Kabuki Man because I love Kabuki.
You do love Kabuki Man.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
always have.
I'm not proud of that either.
You also love the octopus.
I do love the octopus. The octopus.
Nobody listening is gonna know what the fuck that is all about. But
no, Kabuki Man, and I've shown it to people, and while I'm showing it to them, I'm like, they're gonna be so mad at me. But I like it, and I'm sorry.
Oh yeah,
that's great. I already forgot what next week's movie is. So, Gavin, what is next week's movie?
Next week is Ginger Dead Man
with Gary Busey
and Robin Sidney, directed by Charlie Band.
All right,
that's good.
Yeah.
And then we'll be back the week after that with starting with Troma. So, thanks everybody for tuning into this episode. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for tuning in to Hobbs and Horror Movie Review Podcast. Join us in 2 weeks for another exciting movie review.